Hi, I'm Kesenya, and thank you so much for joining me for this series looking at Jupiter's transits through each house of the horoscope. It is lovely to have you with me. I especially want to welcome all the people who are viewing this who are new to astrology. I hope this video helps you learn more and understand more about how astrology operates and the effects of astrology in your life. And also welcome back to those of us who are a little bit more seasoned in our knowledge of astrology. It's a pleasure to have you here as well. Hopefully, if you are more seasoned in astrology, you'll be able to help out those who leave comments in the comments section looking for answers and asking questions. So thank you for helping and supporting me in that endeavor and to help make this a beautiful community where we can communicate and uplift one another on our journey to know more about astrology. So we're going to be looking at Jupiter transiting through the houses. But first, let's look at a little bit about Jupiter itself as a planet. There's so much to know about Jupiter. What a fantastic planet, and it's such a joy and a thrill and a delight to be talking about Jupiter, stepping into Jupiter energy, because he is known as, in astrology, the great benefic, bringing benefit, bringing expansion, bringing growth, bringing abundance into our lives wherever he sits in the chart, in the natal chart. But as I said, in this instance, we're looking at transits and the benevolence that he brings, where that's going to be felt and experienced more according to transits. But let's start by looking at Jupiter. Well, Jupiter is a magnetizer. If you think about Jupiter out there in the actual outer space, Jupiter energy draws things in. It's got this massive magnetosphere for a start, and it also it attracts objects around it into its gravitational pull. So it's this massive planet, and it is quite literally a magnetizer, draws things to it out there in space, and the same energy is represented by Jupiter in astrology as well. So when it transits a house or a sign, and we're using whole sign astrology with this, where each sign represents a house, it will draw things to it of the nature of that sign or that house. It will magnetize those things, pull those things in, and make them manifest more in the life of the individual. And the life of the collective as well, I might add too. As I said, Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system, and it is therefore very effectual. Jupiter very nearly became a second sun in the formation of our solar system millions of years ago, and would have entered into therefore a binary system with our actual sun, or maybe one of them might have gobbled the other up, who knows, but Jupiter didn't quite get there. It didn't quite have the oomph that it took. But nonetheless, Jupiter is massive, and he functions very much in the nature of a benevolent sun in our chart, bringing confidence and bringing illumination to things. And because of his mass, his energy, his energetic output, as I said, he has this monstrous magnetosphere that reaches out into the zone of Saturn, actually. It crosses into Saturn's orbit. And because of this influence of Jupiter that is so expansive, quite literally in the skies and figuratively in astrology as well, the effects of Jupiter are far-reaching and very, very influential. Jupiter is expansive in astrology, as goes with the idea and the nature of as above, so below, and him being the biggest planet, the most expansive planet, his energy in our lives is very expansive as well. In fact, he is so big that you could fit 1,300 Earth-size balls inside of Jupiter. 1,300. It's a phenomenal thought, difficult to get our head around, really. Not only that, you could actually fit every single other planet in the solar system into Jupiter all at once. Go figure, he's enormous. So he brings expansion with his transits and with his natal placement as well. He brings abundance as well. He brings enthusiasm. He brings opportunities. He brings, as I said before, confidence. He brings also a sense of morality to an area of our life, wherever he's transiting. He brings a need for ethics to wherever he's transiting. And he brings a sense of adventure and, what could I experience now? What can this do for me? How can I utilize this? What can I learn about this? He brings that energy to the area of the chart that he's transiting as well. Jupiter rules being charitable, generosity, giving, and he will bring this character of benevolence into whatever area of your chart that he happens to be transiting. You will feel more benevolent, more charitable and feel like giving to that area of your life in greater capacity. Jupiter is also very forward-looking. And so his transit to a certain area of our house will give us more of a forward-looking approach to the themes of that house. He allows us, he's actually a planet that connects to prophecy, and he allows us to gain a glimpse of the potential, of the future possibilities of a house. He gives us the chance to extend and expand beyond our current limits in a certain area or realm of life that is connected to the house in which he's transiting. One of my favorite mantras that I use frequently is I expand to meet my destiny. This is my mantra when I practice yoga and do all sorts of other things in life, and I remind myself I can expand and become big enough to embrace the destiny that the universe has for me, the highest vibrational good that is represented in my chart. So if you're feeling limited or blocked in a certain area, certain realm of life, just wait till Jupiter gets to that section of your chart and watch the blossoming occur. Watch yourself expand beyond the limits you perceived that were around you. The blockages, the restrictions in a certain area can be absolutely sort of pushed out. The boundaries are expanded for you to experience more blessing, more abundance, more prosperity in a certain area. How this works is that, Jupiter has a connection to our visioning processes, our dreaming. Like Jupiter in ancient astrology rules the sign of Pisces, and Pisces is all about our dreams and daydreams, night dreams, all that sort of thing. So Jupiter has a connection to the governance of our visioning, of our dreams, of our imagination, and our intuition. So it's our intuition and our imaginative visioning processes when we sit on the couch on a nice spring afternoon with a cup of, Earl Grey tea, and we're looking out the window dreaming about what we'd like our life to look like, who we want to be, how we'd really like it to work out for us. That begins the process of expansion. Because it's in those processes of trusting our intuition and tapping into our imagination and our visioning, processes that we begin a shift of energy within us. And that's when the old Hermetic principle of as within, so without starts to work for us. When we change our inner being, then we start to see external circumstances change to reflect that shift in energy within us. And Jupiter does his work on that inner level. He is also an externally manifesting planet, but he begins by working on this inner level, creating a higher vibration for us through allowing us to feel more abundance, more joy, more optimism, more joviality. The word jovial comes from the word Jupiter, actually. And it's through this inner change in our levels of optimism and abundance consciousness that then we begin to see the manifestation happen in reality. And we start to see our outer circumstances change. And Jupiter begins that process when he transits a house, by lifting our vibrational level in our inner world to be able to receive on the outer world. Now, Jupiter is named after the ancient Roman god, king of the gods actually, in mythology. And there's an association with Thor in Norse mythology. There's an association with Zeus in Greek mythology. And there's an association with Marduk in the ancient Babylonian mythology as well. So that he has links to all those energies of being the supreme god or governor over all, or the one top authority, top dog, so to speak. And because of that, he actually rules in astrology lawmakers, judges, legal systems, higher levels of knowledge, places of learning that are of that higher level, universities and colleges. He also governs things like religion and belief systems, long distance travels, not just short little trips, but we're talking Jupiter, his big travels overseas or to other, countries that are far away. He governs other cultural practices and other cultural beliefs. Jupiter represents other cultures in general. And he also is a representation of higher knowledge from the divine realms. And it's this that makes him the Lord of intuition, the angel on our shoulder giving us wisdom and guidance in our journey, the guru as he's known in Vedic astrology. Jupiter is referred to as guru, and there's a very good reason for that, because he gives this wisdom, he gives this knowledge. He is the wise, angel on our shoulder. Now, this is a spring series that I am preparing. It's spring in Australia when I'm launching this series. If you're watching it at different times of the year, it'll be a different season, obviously. But in Australia, it is spring at the moment, which I thought was a perfect time to be doing a series on Jupiter and his transits, because spring is about growth. Spring is about the expansion, the blossoming, and very much the abundant nature of Jupiter represented in spring. But Jupiter actually rules the colors purple and orange. And as you can see, I'm wearing a purple cardigan with my spring attire here, and there's purple flowers all over my dress. Also, if you look behind me, I've decorated part of my house with a lot of purple and orange. There's an orange door there and a purple painting and so on, because I really want to channel the energy of Jupiter in my home. I myself am a very highly Jupiterian person, and so I really want to bring that energy in, and Jupiter governs these things. Jupiter rules the crystals lapis lazuli and malachite, according to the research that I have done. There's some varying opinions around that, but this is malachite. I don't have any lapis lazuli on me at the moment, but I will be getting more. Lapis lazuli was often used, and possibly malachite as well, in ancient Egyptian jewelry and tomb decorations, and so it was attributed to the pharaohs, or not attributed to the pharaohs, but it had connections to this leadership element in ancient Egypt. It was only the wealthy, only the prosperous, only the pharaohs and their families that were able to enjoy the luxuries of lapis lazuli and malachite. And of course, Jupiter has these associations with abundance and with wealth and with the lawgivers and leaders. Jupiter's day is Thursday. Now, those of you who are familiar with how the days of the week got their names will know that it comes from the Norse Thor's day. And we've already said Jupiter has an affiliation with Thor. Jupiter's day that he rules of the week is Thursday, Thor's day. Now, because of all these wonderful things that Jupiter governs, and we're going to talk about a few more of those in just a minute, but because he rules abundance, because he rules wealth, because he rules a certain type of leadership, that inspirational figure, that lawmaker, that religious leader, that spiritual leader, that divinely inspired leader, because Jupiter rules these things, wherever Jupiter sits in your chart is where you're going to be able to channel and receive more abundance, more wealth, more opportunity, more good fortune, more prosperity. All these things that Jupiter rules will come into the house where your Jupiter sits in the natal chart. But that's a series for another day when we look at Jupiter through the houses in the natal chart. We're looking at transiting Jupiter in this series. So a bit more about the things that Jupiter rules. Let me read this list to you. He rules children, he rules wealth, he rules belief systems, he rules the blood, he rules the veins, he also rules the hips, and the ability to move forward in life is obviously connected to our ability to utilize our hips. So Jupiter also governs our capacity and our ability to move forward in life as well. Jupiter rules everything from sort of accommodation of a very high level, or public buildings of a very high level, universities, but things like castles, cathedrals, casinos are all ruled by Jupiter. And not that casinos are of a high level, but there is the element of luck and wealth and prosperity that's sort of associated with casinos that gives Jupiter the rulership of casinos. But the belief systems around cathedrals and ashrams and the buildings that govern our belief systems, or that connect with our belief systems, Jupiter rules those, as well as the high level places where we reside, castles and estates and things like that of a very high nature, high caliber. He rules etiquette, he rules manners. In a woman's chart, Jupiter rules husbands, and generally he rules beautiful things like joy and happiness. If we want to know where we can feel the most joy and happiness in life, look to where your Jupiter sits in your natal chart or where Jupiter's transiting. You know you'll be able to generate more joy in that area, more happiness. Jupiter rules devotion, being devoted to something or someone. At a perhaps not so pleasant level, Jupiter rules obesity. He is, after all, the largest planet in the solar system. He's big. And if you have Jupiter placed in the first house, he can usually, in the natal chart, he can make you taller than average, but you've got to watch your weight in later age because you can tend to spread out and become very Jupiter-like in the way you look, very round in the middle. In fact, Jupiter as a planet bulges in the middle due to his rotation speed and gravitational pull and all that sort of thing that affects the shape of Jupiter, and he bulges out in the middle. So when we have Jupiter in the first house, we do have to be very careful of bulging out in the middle at some point in life. Hence, I have to watch what I eat. So Jupiter rules beautiful things as well, like benevolence, philanthropy, get my words out, and prayer. So these are glorious things that Jupiter rules. And these are only a few of the areas of life that you might notice Jupiter influencing through his transits or through your natal chart placement as well. There's just masses of things, as is befitting to the nature of a very big planet. There's a very big list of things that Jupiter governs in our lives, but there's just a few. Now, Jupiter is at his most powerful in fire and water signs. So when he's in the earth signs or the air signs, it's not that he doesn't bring, beneficial results. He's just a little bit lackluster. He doesn't have the oomph. He doesn't have the, ta-da kind of capacity that he would in water or fire signs. He's just a little bit ta-da, the energy is not quite the same, not quite as full. He is especially strong in Sagittarius, which he rules, Pisces, which is the other sign that he rules in traditional astrology, ancient astrology, and he is especially strong where he is exalted in the sign of Cancer. So if you are experiencing a transit of Jupiter to Pisces, Sagittarius, or Cancer at some time in life, then you're going to experience more of his benevolence in a very ta-da kind of way because of the strength of Jupiter in these signs. Jupiter has a natural affiliation with the ninth house, the most the most lucky house in astrology, the most blessed house in astrology, the ninth house, and Jupiter has a natural affiliation to that house. He also has a natural affiliation to the 12th house, which is, interestingly enough, one of the malefic houses in Vedic astrology. But Jupiter has an affiliation to that because of his governance of the sign Pisces, which has all this 12th house energy. So Jupiter is very comfortable when he's in the 12th house or the 9th house. But Jupiter is actually has his strongest directional strength and greatest effect in either the first house, particularly the first house. That's where Jupiter has his greatest directional strength or gives the strongest influence for good. But there is also a strong influence of Jupiter when he's in the 10th house. This is where Jupiter does his best work, in the first house or the 10th house. So if you're experiencing that by transit as well, you're going to experience a lot more of the blessing, especially if you happen to have Sagittarius, Pisces, or Cancer as your first or 10th house and Jupiter's transiting there. Hang on to your hats, it's going to be fun. Now, wherever Jupiter is transiting is where you can actually contribute most to society. And this is because Jupiter is charitable, Jupiter is generous, Jupiter is a philanthropist, Jupiter is a benefic, he brings benefit. So you yourself can be these energies or give these energies to the world and your role on the planet. So, Jupiter might be transiting, for example, the 5th house. So you can give your benefit, your charity, your philanthropy to children, because that is where the energy is of benevolence and generosity is being directed by transit. Also consider that in your natal placement of Jupiter as well, where you can be the most generous and give, in a very benevolent, philanthropic way, wherever Jupiter sits in your natal chart also. So without further ado, let's go in now and have a look at where Jupiter is transiting and how it might affect you. So how do we find out if Jupiter is transiting through the fourth house of our natal chart? Well, first of all, we need to know whereabouts Jupiter is in the sky currently as we're watching this video. And so you'll need to go to a website such as planetwatcher.com or astro.com and go to the chart of the moment there. And that will tell you whereabouts Jupiter currently is transiting, in what sign. And remember, we're using whole sign astrology for this system. So one sign equals one house. And I'll show you how that works. Let's say Jupiter is transiting through the sign of Aquarius, for example, and you happen to be Scorpio rising, in which case Jupiter will be transiting your fourth house. And we work that out by going one sign, two signs, three signs, four signs, fourth house. Easy. So that's an example of how we find out where Jupiter is transiting in our chart. If he's in the sign of Aquarius and we're Scorpio rising, fourth house. And if you happen to look in the sky and find that Jupiter is somewhere other than your fourth house, all you need to do is go to my video on that topic regarding wherever Jupiter is transiting for you. And so what does this mean? Well, the fourth house, it refers to things in Western astrology that have to do with home and the domestic environment, has to do with our private internal life, our emotional self. It's also connected to our heritage, what we get from our ancestors, what they leave us, the legacy they have left us, our heritage, our roots, our lineage. And these things are all fourth house things. It's also a very fourth house to be involved in farming or gardening or anything to do with the earth, because as you can see, it's the lowest point in the horoscope, sort of deep in the ground. So anything that's in the ground is often seen through fourth house energy as well. So these are some fourth house things. There are other things, of course. The fourth house rules many, many different things, but that's just the peripheral guide. So what does it mean when Jupiter, this planet of abundance and magnetism, is moving through the fourth house? Well, he brings his happiness and his optimism to our domestic affairs, our domestic life. So we might be getting along very well for this year with our family. And that can be our intimate family, our partner, our children, or it can even extend out to the larger family, such as, the mother and your grandparents, grandmother, grandfather, mother, father, so on, and our family lineage, obviously. There are specific places, just for those who want to know, in the chart to look for pinpointed information about grandparents and father energy. But generally, we're looking at family in that what I just spoke about, and that is the general family context is fourth house. It is more specifically the house of your mother. So you can find out a lot about your mother through looking at the fourth house. And also Jupiter here might be expanding the relationship that you have with your mother, making it more blessed, more positive, more upbeat. The one qualifying factor I would give to that, though, is that if you've had a difficult relationship with your mother all your life, if things have been really tense, a lot of angst between you, a lot of friction, then Jupiter's transit through the fourth house can exacerbate that. And we find that often people who have a Jupiter transit through the fourth house can end up cutting ties completely with their mother. And it's like, well, hang on, Jupiter's in the fourth house, Jupiter's a benefic, why is this happening? It's because Jupiter expands and multiplies the relationship that you have with the mother. And if it's not good, that gets blown up by Jupiter. A bad relationship with the mother will expand as well, to the point where you're like, can't take this anymore, cut ties, had enough. So Jupiter expands whatever it touches, and it's not too fussy about whether it's something good or something bad. In this case, if you've got a bad relationship with your mother and you're about to go through a fourth house transit of Jupiter, you can expect it's not going to get better in a hurry. Basically, your new renewed sense of optimism and joy around family has no space for family shit. Excuse my language, but that's just how it goes. Generally, though, apart from that happy domestic life, you can expect that to be the case. You might also find your dream property. This is the house, as I said, of home, and that's bricks and mortar home, land, property, actual physical earth is seen here. So you might get the chance to buy some land or buy your dream home. Jupiter will expand those opportunities. You'll feel more at home, more stable, more secure in your home environment as well. Jupiter will expand that energy in your life. So it's a time this year of feeling really comfortable and safe in your home environment, unless there are other more hairy aspects playing out that are taking that away. But generally, we would be expecting to feel that. It can indicate also Jupiter's transit through the fourth house. You might move home, especially if you haven't been happy, similarly to the dynamic with the mother. If you haven't been happy in the home where you've been, then Jupiter's transit here says, I don't have time for this crap anymore. I'm going where I do want to be, where I am happy, where I feel safe and cared for and loved and nurtured. Fourth house things. So you will go to where that happens to be for you. You stand to gain a lot, actually, this year from property, from real estate development, from investment into land, maybe investment in agriculture as well, or anything of a nature that has to do with the ground or the earth, such as mining or, gemstones or that sort of stuff. So Jupiter will expand your opportunities, and Jupiter is a planet of wealth. He can bring some wealth to you through those things in this year of your life. Now, if you're not in the mood for selling your house, you might find that you're quite drawn to renovating or extending or making bigger your home, because Jupiter is to make bigger. So you might add an extra bedroom, or you might build that office or put that studio in the backyard you've always wanted under an energy such as this one. And of course, all these types of things are going to give you joy, because Jupiter is the planet of joy. So your renovations will bring a lot of happiness to you. And you'll find maybe you might be interested in landscaping your garden, and that will bring you a lot of joy. Or getting your hands stuck into the earth will bring you a good sense of joy. Maybe dabbling in a bit of farming or organics might give you a sense of joy as well, because Jupiter will expand your happiness with those things this year. So you might even find that there is a fair bit of attachment to the material side of life with this transit as well. Long-term security, because this is a house of security, and sometimes we need tangible items in our life, such as a roof over our head and shelter, to feel like we're safe and secure in the world. And so there can be a big emphasis now. Jupiter will emphasize the focus on long-term security and this sense of stability going forward into the rest of his trip around the horoscope. So he's refining that, and he's building that for you under this transit. It's also a year when the happiness of your family is going to be a priority for you. You will put it first under Jupiter's influence here, and you'll be very focused on having that happy family life and bringing happiness to your family in some way as well. You might even find Jupiter in the fourth house can give you an expanded need for seclusion and privacy and a sense of just going to keep to myself, which is a very fourth house energy also. So you might find that you want to go and just spend time alone in your home, and you might find, on weekends you don't want to go out and party or go out to dinner at restaurants. You know what? I just want to cook a nice home cooked meal this year and curl up in front of the telly and eat my little homemade beef stew or whatever it is, to sort of snuggle into domestic life. That will be a big priority. To invest in your children, to invest in connections with family, that's going to be the priority this year with Jupiter here. The fourth house shows where our inner sense of stability comes from and security comes from. And of course, with Jupiter transiting through the fourth house, that's going to be expanded too. Our happiness in our inner self, in our inner sense of joy and peace and safety and security will expand under Jupiter's transit through this section also. Jupiter is also a planet of celebration and ceremony. So you might find there's a lot more ceremonies and celebrations to do with family that come your way this year. There might be some marriages that you need to attend, family weddings. There might be some sort of, christenings or religious ceremonies to do with children. Jupiter rules children in the house of family. So there might be, some ceremonies around children, like I said, a christening or a baptism of a child, or there might be, any type of ceremony and hospitality kind of celebration can be seen, like a first birthday party for a child or something of that nature. Religious ceremonies can also take place as well. So depending on the culture that you are in, there might be some religious ceremonies that you really want to celebrate with your family, or just general holidays that you want to spend with your family. I mean, we do that most of the time anyway. Christmas comes, we want to be with our family, but there might be other moments this year that aren't so predominant as Christmas and Easter that you might think, oh, I want to celebrate that with my family. You know, I want to get together with my loved ones and celebrate some obscure religious idea or tradition, because that's going to be amplified. The desire to celebrate, the desire to have ceremony with family will be increased. Now, in the Hindu system, the fourth house rules things like our happiness. It rules transportation, cars, buses, trains, planes, that sort of thing. It rules the degrees that we get from places of higher learning and so forth. It rules the comforts of life. So things like toys, accessories, the things that we sort of accumulate for the pleasure of it, not the necessities of life, but the comforts, those 20 cushions you've got on the bed, that's ruled by the fourth house. Do you need that? No. Is it make life more comfortable for you? Well, yes, when you're lying on the bed, it does. So fourth house is our comforts of life, and also similar to Western astrology, it rules land and it rules homes. So Jupiter's transit here tells us that we're going to be happy and content with all of these things. Our comforts in our, domestic environment are going to be very much appreciated and enjoyed. We might get more toys in our life, We might, I just have to share, I collect Barbie dolls. So when Jupiter transits my fourth house, I might decide I need a few more Barbie dolls for my toy collection. Yes, I'm a dork. But that is the kind of thing that can happen with Jupiter through the fourth house. We might get more chances to sort of utilize transport in some way. We might buy a new car or a motorbike, or some form of transport might come into our life that's very beneficial for us. Jupiter is beneficial, and we might get inspired to go get a degree under this transit as well. So these fourth house things will be increased, made bigger, more abundant, bring more prosperity through these things into our life in some way. We will be very prosperous with the comforts and acquisitions of our life. We will be very prosperous due to some transport opportunity, and we will be very prosperous through our land and our home also. So at the same time as Jupiter is transiting the fourth house, he is making an aspect to the 8th house, the 12th house, they're two malefic houses, and also to the 10th house in the Vedic system, the Hindu system. Now, Jupiter's aspects, an aspect in the Vedic system does not determine whether the result will be good or bad. What determines a good, in inverted commas, a good or bad result from an aspect in the Vedic system comes from the nature of the planet, and in this case, Jupiter is a benefic. So he is bringing benefit to the 8th house, 12th house, and also to the 10th. Even though these are two malefic houses, benefits are still directed at those areas of the chart because the planet is the great benefic Jupiter, giving blessing. So what does this then mean? Well, the aspect to the 8th house. 8th house is our relationship with other people's money, our insurance, finance, stock market, wills, legacies, winning the lotto is sometimes seen through the 8th house. And so Jupiter's aspect to the 8th house can give you opportunity with those things. Those things might come your way. They might land in your lap. You might get named in Great Aunt Mary's will, or, you might win Tats Lotto. There needs to be other things going on in the chart, not just this, but this can be very advantageous towards that end, combined with other things in the chart. So that is the 8th house that can be amplified through Jupiter's aspect. 10th house can also be amplified through Jupiter's aspect as well. So this might mean greater career success, the opportunity for a promotion, for some recognition, for your social status to increase. You might end up, after this year is over, with a greater professional influence because of Jupiter aspecting the house of professional influence. And of course, Jupiter making an aspect to the 12th house. Well, 12th house is faraway places and travel, and Jupiter himself has connections to the idea of travel as well, or other cultures. And so here there may be a very wonderful opportunity that comes to you to travel to other cultures, but underline the but for the purposes of spiritual growth. So it can be to escape, to have some retreat, some time out, but also there's going to be the chance to renew the spirit, to grow your spiritual insight. So, yep, you might go and lie on a beach and sort of feel restored and rejuvenated, bonus, but you may also go to an ashram or to some sort of yoga retreat or something like that where you can get in touch with your spiritual side and grow your spiritual nature. And in fact, this whole year, regardless of whether you do any travel, is going to be an opportunity for spiritual growth because of Jupiter's aspect in the Vedic system to the 12th house. So that's what we're seeing with Jupiter's transit through the 4th house. I hope this video has been helpful. Do check out the other videos in this series because after all, after this transit through the 4th house is over for you, next year you're going to have Jupiter transiting the 5th house. So go check that one out and see what you're in for so you can prepare and be ready for what's coming your way. Thanks for joining me. I'll have another video in this series for you next week.